we're going to be designing a full over full denture based on the position of the existing dentures. I'm going to use partial denture, 3D print, drawing, and these green dots will add connector in your Exocad. So we'll select the green dots for connectors for a split file denture. We want our connectors on our split file denture, and I'm going to make sure this pre-op model is selected so I don't have to go to add remove mesh. I think it's all selected. Awesome. So we'll save our dental DB. It creates a folder for us, and once it creates that folder, we'll go into the Open Explorer tool. Open Explorer, we've got our dental project. That's our database entry, and then a screenshot of our database entry. So we'll go to downloads, and we have our files. So I'll copy it out of our downloads folder and paste it into our dental project folder, and we're gonna extract the files. Now we're ready to get into design. So we'll hit design. It's gonna activate the dental CAD software, and on the upper, we'll load in the upper jaw. Top left corner, it asks you what you want. And then we want to load in our pre-op, which is our upper as well. And on the lower jaw, we want to load our lower and then our pre-op as well. So we want our occlusal surface facing up, and then we'll hit next. Our correct pre-op placement, we don't need to do that. So we'll hit next. It's asking us to place, so we will just load him in. And once we load him in, it'll create an anatomic shape. And that's all you're really trying to accomplish here, is get an anatomic shape in there. And then for the lower, it's asking for an anatomic shape. Awesome. So now I'm going to leave wizard mode because I have to section my intaglio on my jaw scans, because my jaw scans are a full 360 existing denture scan. So we need to go to expert, and then we need to edit mesh. And we can only edit mesh one arch at a time. So I'm going to edit mesh with the mandible first. We're going to select only surface, and we're going to crop the intaglio data. So, and then if I hold shift, I could deselect some of the data I've already marked. Awesome. So I'll invert, and that's going to get rid of our occlusal surface areas. And now we just have our intaglio section, like we port a model. We'll show triangle. Our negative is facing up, and we want to invert it by right-clicking on the background. You can invert it again. And then we need to do the exact same process for the upper arch. So edit mesh, select only surface, and then invert, and then delete. So now we need to show triangle. It's negative, and then invert, and we'll hit OK. Perfect. So in expert mode, we have our jaw scans, which are tan, and I'm gonna set my upper teeth first in the teeth placement tool. And so we'll turn on our and we're gonna be in the simple tool, move all simultaneously, and I'm gonna set my midline of 8 and 9 first and get that 8 and 9 position how I want it as far as shape and size. And we can use rotate to rotate it, which is control, and then scale to scale the size of the setup. So I'm taking a look at where it's located on the ridge, and here we go. I like how it is right now, and I'll go to chain, and we'll hit symmetry, and we're gonna move our distal disc to the molar position, and our show distance is off because it's taking into account a full anatomic on the mandible. And basically I go 8-9 lock, distal disc, and then I pull in with chain the buccal corridor and the position where it needs to be, and then we can use control just to rotate where these teeth need to be set. So symmetry is not always a thing of perfection in patients. A lot of patients are asymmetrical, so we need to set one side of this disc first, and then we need to unlock symmetry and move this disc to where that position is. So that wasn't much of a change. It's a good setup of teeth. And then we can hit OK. And so our maxillary teeth are set. And now I need to set my mandibular teeth. So I'm going to go to tooth placement on my lower. And we need to move all simultaneously. And we're just setting our 24-25 position with 8 and 9 position. And we're setting that overjet overbite. So maybe 1 to 2 overjet overbite. and we're getting that scaling of the size that we kind of want, and we want to make sure this midline is pretty much perfect. So now I can turn on my show distances. It's going to help me position my teeth. So I'm trying to look for equal touch on both sides of this, and I'm kind of getting that already. I'm seeing the color map wheel. It looks very symmetrical as far as where's the color occlusal touch and where it's hitting on the setup, and that's what you're trying to achieve. So we'll go to chain now, we'll lock it, and then we will set our teeth. So I'm gonna move my distal disc, and I'm gonna set that against the upper setup teeth. And I change to the single tooth so I can edit in a singular tooth fashion. But everything that's moving on the patient right side is also moving on the patient left side. So if I turn off one of my discs, I need to make sure another tooth disc is on while in the symmetry tool, or it'll start to distort your setup teeth. And I'm just going to maybe shrink the size of these, and we can turn on our pre-op. Pre-op bite wasn't really class 1. Perfection. So once I like one side of the arch, just like the upper, I'm going to turn off the symmetry tool, and then I'm going to pull the disc and make sure we got really good occlusal pattern and interdigitation of our teeth. All right, everything looks pretty good. So we'll hit OK. And our next step is virtual wax up bottom, which is our path of draw and the intaglio. And so we want our path of draw to come a little bit from the facial, like you would be taking on and off a denture. Apply. And you'll see in our show hide bar, our virtual wax up mesh has been created, and that's our intaglio. We're going to do the same thing for the lower. Set and then apply, and we'll hit OK, and we exited that tool. So since I set these teeth separately, one at a time, what I want to do is the instant anatomical morphing tool, which is inside of our tooth placement. And this instant anatomical morphing tool, you need to grab both jaw scan upper and lower, and you need to select them when entering the tooth placement tool. Hit advanced, hit the instant anatomical morphing tool. You can hover over it, it'll tell you instant anatomical morphing, and then instant morphing on the upper and instant morphing on the lower. And now if we look at our occlusal pattern from our color map wheel, we can touch our slider and it'll take all of our teeth out of occlusion based on the setup. And we can also move our setup so we have a little bit better of a pattern or interdigitation setup that you kind of wish to have that you couldn't do before. It's a little pre-free-forming with some boundaries on the lower setup and upper setup. So I like that now. We got good occlusal scheme, and we're gonna just free-form our teeth now. And I like free-forming our necks of our teeth sometimes so we can get that emergence profile that we desire. So we can pull the neck of the tooth and the occlusal is not moving, just the neck. You can see that. Let's undo it. So I was able to bump out the emergence profile of the mandible. And then maybe we look at our pre-op, I don't even need to pull the buccal. I don't need to pull it in. Lingual up here. So we're alright, because it goes right into the CEJ. Nice and smooth, perfect. So I'm going to do gingiva based design. This is marking the borders of the gingiva. So we'll start marking the vestibule. Awesome. And then it proposes a gingiva. And then we'll do the same exact thing for the lower. So you're just drawing the perimeter. And I leave my base thickness as is. Awesome. So now we can freeform our gingiva design. And that's just going to build up the festoon our gingiva. Create our peaks and valleys. If you want me to get crazy, you can use some tools, create some viscosa. But I always start with the small region tool, and I'll pull up into our interproximal region. We'll go to the free tool, add, and I'll just add and basically shape the gingiva. Make sure the CEJ looks good and maybe not too tall, not too short. Lots of customization that you can have. Also predictable as well, as you can repeat this process. A little weird triangle there. On the lower, not as pretty. Smooth it out, smooth a little bit lingual. Awesome. So I see this little triangle here. I'm gonna just edit it out. It shouldn't be there. It's due to our virtual wax up bottom. being sharp, and so it tends to grab that virtualized bottom edge. So you can make a cleaner jaw scan model, and that's how we do it at the lab, so we don't run into this issue prematurely. I can close the hole, now we won't have any more issues. Click jaw scan, and now the connector tool, I like using the teardrop. We can place that teardrop and then get it most interproximal hidden as possible. Not too far buccal, not too far lingual, just right in the middle. Just touch the slider around and you can move it around into a better spot, kind of like so. And so, connector on the lower. Come on, turn off that upper. Let's hide these connectors. Lots of customization. Now, what about Gingiva to come before the connector for printing purposes, manufacturing purposes? Awesome. Turn on our jaw scans, make them blue, and we will do the adapt tooth pocket. And for this, we like a 1mm base thickness. We can hit apply, and it's going to separate the teeth and base and make tooth sockets that we can manufacture for both anatomic shapes and gingiva base. So just like the partial copy, we did the copy denture. We didn't have connectors, but now that we're designing it ourselves, we have these connectors. Because it was a monolithic, so we can take this adapted and make it a monoblock, but we don't want to do that. It'll just be a split file. So that's what I also like about this, is it's easily changeable between a split file denture and a monoblock denture. You want to be able to say that monolithic try-in went in well. You want to be able to replicate that exact monolithic try-in into a two-tone final. And this is an easy way of doing that. It gives you a monolithic and it gives you two-tone. Matches the chair-side workflow. So we'll adapt tooth pockets on the lower. A lot of similar steps between the upper and lower. This adapt pocket has to be done separately. And now we're left with upper, lower, and we just merge and save. When we merge and save, it's going to create 4 STLs for us. The teeth on the upper, the teeth on the lower, and then the gingiva base on the upper, and then gingiva base on the lower that we can manufacture. And this was all based on our pre-op dentures that are in the patient's mouth right now. And we'll save our scene, and that is upper lower denture design based off of a pre-op scan. So you'll find these files always back in your Open Explorer. You sort by date. You can look bridge SLM CAD, bridge SLM CAD, prosthetic base, dental CAD scene file, and dental project. Construction for the mill. Alright, that's the split file denture. Thanks.